Hippity hoppity, hippity hoppity. Easter is just around the corner and it has been on my mind. So I thought it would be really fun to dive into a few Easter projects today. So I am not one that goes all out and decorates for Easter, but what I do like to do is create a really beautiful Easter tablescape for Easter Sunday. So that's what we're jumping into today. We are going to make a pretty tablescape, but there's a lot of DIY involved in this. So get your DIY on and let's get started. Hello everyone, how are you all doing? I hope this finds you well and happy. I'm looking forward to hanging out today, so I am so glad y'all are here. We're gonna jump into some fun projects. I've had Easter on my mind. I've just been thinking about what I wanna do with my tablescape for Easter Sunday. So I have some fun ideas up my sleeve. We're gonna jump into creating a really pretty tablescape that is gonna be mostly DIY. There's a couple of DIY projects involved in this. We're gonna start out by first creating a really cool Easter tree of sorts. So it's gonna be like a springy, twiggy type tree. So the first thing I wanna do is create some really pretty vintagey Easter egg ornaments to hang from our tree. So let's head into the studio and get started with our very first project. To get started with our really pretty vintage Easter egg ornaments for our spring tree, I'm going to start by using these egg cutouts that I cut out on my scroll saw. However, if you do not have access to a scroll saw, you can buy these pre-made at almost all the craft supply stores. So I knew that I wanted to have a little bit of color in these eggs. I want them to look vintagey, but vintagey with some color. So I didn't just come in with antiquing wax to stain these. I decided to go ahead and create some colors, and I didn't want too much color, so I'm just using two colors here. I'm using this really pretty purple color and then a really pretty blue. I did water these down and then I just brush it on pretty liberally, let it soak in for just a couple of seconds, and then wipe away any of the excess to get that really pretty stained look. I do love how these turned out, and I love how you see a little bit of the grain in the wood. However, we are going to do some applique on the tops of these, so you don't see the wood grain on both sides, just on the one side. But I do think it's important to stain both sides because they are going to be hanging on a tree, and so if you see the back, you want it to be finished and polished just like the front. So I repeat the same exact process on the front, the sides, and the back. With my blue, I watered it down just a little bit too much. So what I ended up doing with this one is coming in with just my straight blue color and brushing it on pretty liberally, and then very quickly wipe away that excess so that you still get that stained appearance. I also cut these really cute little running bunnies out on my laser cutter because I thought it would be fun to add a few of these in with our Easter eggs. So for these, I just want to stain them. I'm not going to do anything super special to these. I just want to add a little bit of stain color, but I am putting it on really dark, and instead of completely wiping it away, I mostly just blotted these and then let them set aside to dry. And then I do both front and back with these as well. I wasn't sure exactly how many of these I was going to want to add to the tree, so I cut out several and decided just in case I want them, I'll go ahead and paint them all. So we'll just get that part done really, really quickly. Everything has been painted and is now sufficiently dry, so we can do the applique portion of our Easter eggs, our egg ornaments. So I have these darling, darling little bunny prints that I created, and I will have these available to y'all as a free download if you want to do this same project. So the next step here is clearly just to go ahead and trace the egg shape over our image, and I'm trying really hard to get the bunny as centered on the egg as I possibly can. So I'll get these all traced, I'll get the egg shape traced onto all of these, and then we will quickly cut them out. When I am doing any kind of an applique on a wood surface, I like to use the heat press method. So the first thing I do here is apply some Mod Podge to this wooden egg very, very liberally. I put a really thick coating on these. I think the thickness of the coating is really important. If you get the coat too thin, if you get it spread on too thin, it doesn't work quite as well and you don't get the same holding power and holding strength to these. So I'm going to go ahead and brush some Mod Podge over the tops of all of these really liberally and then let them set them aside and let them dry thoroughly before moving on to the next step. Our glue has completely dried and set up on the egg, so now we can go ahead and get our applique attached. So to do this, I line my image up really well with the egg, cover it with some parchment paper because you don't want to burn your image, and then I just come in with my little mini heat press and press the whole applique onto the surface. You can use an iron to do this too. It'll work exactly the same and just as well. The trick here is to make sure that you get an even pressing across the entire surface so that all pieces of our applique are completely and sufficiently adhered to our surface. This works amazing. However, I do get a little bit of hangover on my applique. You can see where I got just a tiny little bit of the paper hanging over the edges here. So to fix this, I'm just going to come in with my finger sander and sand all of that excess paper off. The trick to doing this part is to make sure that you go in a downward motion away from your project. If you go back and forth, you do run the risk of sanding your actual image and ripping it or tearing it. And so I just like to go in a downward motion all the way around until the whole thing is cleaned up and is looking really nice. So you can see how nicely this little hack works. It's beautiful for getting the image brought right to the edges of your surface, and it makes it just look absolutely perfect. So you have no hangover and it looks very professionally done. So now after I get the sanding part done and that's all taken care of, I am going to come back over the very top of this and add just a little bit more Mod Podge to this. I am careful to add a thin layer here, however, so that we don't get any tearing and wrinkling in our paper. And then I will set that aside and let it dry. So now the fun part, we will just go ahead and repeat this entire process to all of our egg ornaments. So we can hang our hangers or hang our ornaments on the tree. I'm going to drill some holes in these so that we can add some hangers to them. I am using a teeny tiny drill bit to do this, and then I will use some really small string because I really don't want that hole to be really prominent on here. I don't want it to distract from our pretty image. So I do use the smallest drill bit that I can get away with. Now we'll go ahead and just add some hangers. This is a very straightforward process. I am just stringing a really thin string through this, and then I tie a knot at the top and cut away any of the excess string. I think our eggs turned out so cute. Our little egg ornaments. I particularly love the little bunny prints that I added to them. Every time I look at them, they just make me feel happy and I can't help but smile. And our cute little running bunnies, they turned out really cute. I know they're very simplistic, but once we get them put all together with all the components, I think they're gonna look really good. So I don't know about y'all, but I always think about chocolate bunnies at Easter time. There is just something iconic about a chocolate bunny this time of year. So what I want to do next is dive into creating some faux chocolate bunnies to add to our tablescape. I'm not 100% sure this project is going to work, but let's go give it a try and see what happens. For our chocolate bunnies, we are going to be playing with some of this quick set casting resin that I love to use. Y'all have seen me use this so many times. And the resin that I am using, I will have linked in our supply list. I'm also going to try using some of this resin dye. I have never used it before, so this could be interesting. I have no idea what to expect. I'm using this for the first time here with y'all. And then I will use just my favorite little measuring cups, because with this quick set resin it's a 1-to-1 part ratio. So this bunny mold that I am using takes exactly 2 ounces. So I will mix 1 ounce of part A and 1 ounce of part B to this. It is very important with this quick set resin to get your mixes exactly and get them very precise. If you go too much with one part or the other, it won't set properly. It won't set really hard. It'll kind of set soft, and that's not what we want. We want it to set up properly. Now I'm going to go ahead and add the dye, and I am a little bit nervous for this step because I've never used this dye before, and it was really hard to squeeze out of this bottle. I had to put a lot of my muscle into that. So now that I have the dye added, I'm going to mix this really well. Normally when I mix this, I don't have dye, so it's easy to see that I've mixed it long enough because it'll be cloudy when you first combine the two mixtures, and then as it starts to clear up, you know you've mixed enough. But with the dye, it was a little harder, so I just was careful to mix really well until I felt like all the parts were fully incorporated. And then we just go ahead and pour it into our mold very slowly and very carefully. And then 10 minutes later, literally 10 minutes later, it is ready to demold. This is always the exciting part to me. I just think it is so satisfying. I love this part. This is how it looks, y'all. It's not too bad. The color is actually better than I thought it was going to be. So I'm impressed. I like this, and they do look pretty close to a cute little chocolate bunny. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a few more of these. I want to make 4 in total, so it is literally just a rinse and repeat process here. I do think these would make cute little gifts as well. If you were putting like a special Easter basket together for someone, it might be cute to pop these in. So here's how they look. I did get a little bit of variation in the color, but I am okay with that. Okay, so I am pleasantly surprised at how well Operation Faux Bunny turned out. I love them. They're so cute and so darling. And you know, I didn't get the batch colors mixed exactly the same every time. So some of them turned out really milk chocolatey looking and some of them look like dark chocolate, which I think is just a ton of fun. It adds a lot of different just texture and movement to the overall look, I think. Okay, so now we've got our eggs made, we've got some cute little wooden bunnies, and we've got some really darling chocolate bunnies. Now we just have to go put it all together to create a really beautiful tablescape. Let's get our tree put together first and foremost, because without the tree, we can't have an Easter tree. So I found this gorgeous, gorgeous vessel on Amazon, y'all, and I will try to share this with you. Oh my gosh, it is so gorgeous. I am in love with it. So, and I also got a whole bunch of different twigs and branches. I also got these on Amazon, so I will link all of these for y'all in the supply list, but I think these are going to be fun to work with. I'm particularly excited about these mossy trees. I think they are so, so beautiful. However, everything is a little tall, so I need to get things cut down to size. So I was going to share with you one of my fun tricks for cutting a piece down to size is I lay my branch across the vessel and then decide how far up, you know, outside the vessel I want it to stand, and then hold it up like this, and then whatever's left at the bottom is what I will cut off. I hope that makes sense. I've tried to show that to y'all before, but it's really hard to capture the whole thing on camera. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these cut to size, and then we'll get this whole thing assembled and start adding our fun ornaments that we created and the cute little wooden bunnies. The tree is put together. I love how it is looking. I am especially loving the way it looks in this vessel. It is so cool. It is tall. It's got a lot of tall, wispy pieces sticking out everywhere, but I think that's part of the charm. And I love how these branches just are reminiscent of brand new buds coming out on all the spring branches. So the next thing we need to do is start adding our cute little Easter egg ornaments to this, as well as some of our cute little bunnies. I kind of feel like I'm talking to y'all through a jungle. It is almost a jungle. Because of the nature of how these twigs went together in my vessel, I decided to keep the eggs low. Like I'm not hanging them clear out on the edges of any of these branches, mostly because they're kind of flimsy and it would just flop over anyway. So I do keep my egg ornament sort of low, in like tucked inside the thickest part of our arrangement here. And I just place them, you know, haphazardly. I kind of just place them as to what I thought looked the best inside here. I did struggle a little bit, like the struggle right here was real getting that one to attach. But I just have fun and just play. I did place a few and then I had to move a few, and I also had to tweak my branches just a little bit after I started getting some of the ornaments hung in here. But this is just one of those processes where you play and you just kind of place them according to however you feel they look best and to your liking. Okay, y'all, so at this point, I can't decide if I think this is really ugly or really cute. I definitely love the greenery. I think it's fun. It's different. It's definitely different. So I might have to just let it grow on me for a minute. My thought with these little bunnies was to just kind of add them in and just put a touch of hot glue to the back and kind of glue them on in a few random places. So we'll go ahead and do that and see what it looks like. I'm just gonna do a teeny tiny touch of hot glue. Not gonna do too much because if I wanna take these off, I'll be able to. And hopefully it's gonna be enough hot glue to actually hold them on there. Oh, maybe not. Might have to use a little more glue. Shoot, this idea might not work. I didn't want to have to put holes in these bunnies. Just try a little bit more hot glue. Okay, I think that's gonna hold. Fingers crossed it's gonna hold. Okay, so that one held a little bit better, so I think the trick is to just make sure you get enough hot glue. So I'm gonna add quite a bit more hot glue to this. I don't like this little hot glue gun, it just doesn't get hot enough. I should have went out and got my Ryobi one from the shop. But I was being lazy. Okay, where do we want this little guy? Maybe right here. I'm gonna come back here and do this. I don't think I'm gonna put too many of these little guys on this tree. I was also a little concerned that it was gonna pull the branches down quite a bit, but it doesn't seem to be, so that's good. That's really good. All right, let's add maybe just a couple of more to this tree. Thinking maybe one right here, if I can get it to go through there. I don't know if I can get it to go through all that mossy stuff. Just have him kind of hiding back here. I feel like they're holding okay though. Yeah, the trick is to definitely get enough hot glue here on these. Okay, I might just stop right there with the bunnies, y'all, because I think it's filling pretty full. So we've got, yeah, I think I'll stop with these little wooden bunnies. I'm only gonna do 3, even though I cut out 7, but I think if I add more, it's just gonna get too busy. So I'm gonna leave it like this for now. All right, let's go ahead and place this on the table. This mossy stuff does shed a little bit off of the tree. We'll place it on the table. I think it looks really, really cute on the table. I do apologize, y'all, though, for this angle because I have 2 windows right here. It is really, really hard for me to get a good angle to film this at. So sorry for the angle and sorry for the weird lighting, but I think you kind of get the picture, right? You kind of get a feel for what I'm doing here. Okay, so to this on the table, I'm gonna add a fun little bowl with some mossy eggs. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add in this really cool bowl. I love this bowl just because it's kind of got the weird, funky, fun misshapes to it. So it's so fun, and I think it pairs beautifully with this vase. And then we'll go ahead and add in some mossy eggs. So these mossy eggs, y'all, would be so easy to DIY. However, I was feeling a little bit lazy and decided to just buy them. I did get these on Amazon, so I will have them linked for y'all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I do try to do an odd number, but in this case, we might do 10, just whoops. Just because I feel like that looks the best in the bowl, except for that one doesn't want to stay up there. So maybe we will do 11 there. Okay, so I do love these mossy eggs. I think they are so pretty. They're so vibrant. The quality is really, really, really good on these. So they came in a huge bag. So I will link these for y'all in our supply list. There is definitely mossy stuff everywhere. I'm gonna have to sweep and mop after this. Okay, so we have our 2 main centerpieces on the table. I think this is enough. You don't wanna go overboard, you know, in the center part. And typically I pay very close attention to sight lines. However, this is really large and it does create a hindrance for sight lines looking across the table this way and this way. If you're looking sideways at someone, you're okay. But I'm gonna go with it. I'm gonna break that rule just a little bit here because I love the large scale of it and I love the really tall, long, wispy branches branching out everywhere. So when we get to sit down to eat though, this piece will probably just have to get moved. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and create our actual place settings now. When doing my place settings, I do like to start with lots and lots of layers. So the first thing I like to do is start with a great big giant oversized placemat. And I love these ones, especially for springtime, because I love all the texture. I love that they're very earthy, and I like the lightness in color of them as well. They're just real springy. They remind me of spring. I did get these at Target. I've had them for many, many years. So I'm not sure if Target still has them, but I will try to link something very similar in our supply list for y'all. So I just start by adding one to each place setting. And I do like to make sure that everything is equally spaced because I do have OCD a little bit, just a smidge. So once that's done, then I usually come in with some plate chargers. Now that our plate chargers are down, we'll go ahead and start with our dinner plates. I do like to use slightly oversized dinner plates on top of my charger. I just think the size, if you use something too small, it kind of makes the charger and the placemat feel really large, where this just kind of starts to balance it and slowly builds it and brings it in. And because I am going for a very earthy tablescape appearance here, we started with our our first placemat, which is a very earthy color, and then to sort of balance that out, I've added in the white and then came in with some stoneware plates, and that just kind of keeps everything balanced and no one color is overpowering on the table. To bring in just a little bit of contrast, I'm going to add these slightly darker salad plates with the black rim on them. I think that'll be really pretty, and it does add a slight bit of contrast to our table setting. So you've added in the salad plates, and now I'm going to go ahead and just top these with some really pretty wooden bowls, and that's going to really bring our earthy feel together and sort of finish off this look, and then we can add in the cutlery. I also really love using cloth napkins on the table. I just love having the texture from the textiles. I think it's very pretty, and it adds a lot of elegance to your table. And there, of course, there are so many different ways that you can style your cloth napkins. You can set it next to your place setting and lay your cutlery on top of it. You can do what I've done here and layer it just across the plate charger and then put your table setting on top of it. You could fold them into fun shapes. You could do the cute little bunny ears. There's just so many different things you can do with the cloth napkins. I think for this tablescape, I'm going to just keep it very, very simple and layer it between my charger and the place setting. All right, let's go ahead and add our cutlery to the table. So I always start with the knife on the left side. Oh, whoops, sorry, never mind. Knife on the right side, blade inwards. Spoon next to the knife, forks on the left side. Of course, I also think this is personal preference. Emily Post might turn over in her grave at hearing me say that, but it is personal preference. This is just kind of your standard layout, and typically you would have a salad fork and a dinner fork on the left side. With that said, on the silverware, just a little caveat here. One thing to keep in mind though, whether you set it the Emily Post style way or not, you definitely don't want to have your neighbor's fork meeting up with this neighbor's forks. You do try to keep them separate. I think that's, the philosophy behind having your silverware set the way that it is. Typically, on a regular basis, I will put all three of them over here because most of my family is right-handed, and we tend to just reach to the right naturally for our silverware. So again, there's no real hard, fast rule to follow here. Just keep in mind that you don't want fork to fork with your neighbors because it does get kind of confusing and people might not know whose fork was whose. I've also gone ahead and added our drinkware to the table. I'm just keeping it very low-key and casual with just some of these pretty little goblets. But to finish this off, we have to add our faux chocolate bunnies to the table. So I am just going to place one of these right next to each of the drinking glasses, and I'll probably alternate them, a dark chocolate, a light chocolate, a dark chocolate, and a light chocolate. Our tablescape is all finished, and y'all, I think it looks lovely. I like the very earthiness to it. I like the simplicity as well. It's not overstated, it's elegant, and it's not too busy and crowded at the table. I think it turned out really, really pretty. Let's take some close-up looks, shall we? Now all we need is dinner. Setting the table like this did make me feel just a little bit hungry. I think it turned out really, really pretty. I'm very happy with the results. It was super fun to put this together. I always enjoy putting a tablescape together. And it doesn't have to be a big special holiday for me to do so either. Sometimes I like to just do it for the fun and just out of the ordinary to make my family feel extra special. Or if Michael and I are having a special date night, I'll set a nice pretty tablescape. I think it's fun. It just makes the moment special, and it makes the person you're eating with feel very special as well. Alrighty, my dear friends, that is going to wrap up our Easter tablescape episode. I hope that y'all enjoyed this, and I really hope that I gave you some good ideas and some inspiration through the projects that we worked on together today. I look forward to seeing you all again next week. Oh yes, I have a very fun and special project coming up again next week. It's going to be a ton of fun. So y'all be sure and come back and see me again next week. Until then, happy Easter, take care, and I will see y'all soon. Bye-bye, friends. I would like to just send a shout out, a special thank you to all of my members and to all of you for being here and supporting my channel each and every week. I cannot begin to tell you how much I appreciate and love each and every one of you. Thanks again for being here, and thanks for watching, y'all.